Anyways, I think yeah. So just give us short description, like what is going on, what's the situation, so that you may better adjust what you will want to take as your characters. Obviously, because this is like a sort of a testing mini campaign, and I've wanted to test out several new mechanics that I've worked on. Obviously, respecing, so retraining your character if it will turn out that something doesn't work, or you didn't take like what you thought that would be you took what you thought would be useful, but it didn't turn out to be. Honestly, that would be an option. Essentially, as I said at the start, we are playing, and I don't want to say that I'm limiting your characters to be like their homeworld would be Arnorgur, the main planet where the session is happening. Because I imagine there might be some stories and ways where another character is from different planet, but they got
I get what you mean.
involved.
That's perfectly fine. Like, let's put it this way: we're good enough role players that you can set it up, and we can like make character based on strict criteria.
Okay. Essentially, I think you should see the basic attributes of the planet and what are the tags are. Essentially,
If I can push you on it, though, I might go open up that Lost Races book.
please don't.
I'm just messing with you.
I'd rather try only stick with the core book or a
Matt,
revised book and.
Matt, I know it's been a while, but this is me we're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm fucking with you.
Okay.
So former warriors and tyrants.
Yes, essentially, this is a frozen, not hellscape, because people managed to create a civilization here. From architecture perspective, just imagine Frostpunk, but like expanded and brought to a level where they are technologically advanced. Because generally the planet has TL4, which is a basic post-tech level. So general standard of living that the Terran Mandate, which was the main human civilization before it fell apart, was. And your people were strong. You had to be to survive in this environment and endure and create a civilization, and to get to such a numbers that you have hundreds of millions of inhabitants. They were fierce. They faced the local threats without issue. They stared in the face of death quite often, and your people were proud of that. They were proud warriors that managed to carve out a peace uh, for their own in the dark times after the silence struck the Terran Mandate had fell apart. But that had changed. Several decades ago, the High Sky, which is the TL5, one of the two TL5 factions that exist in this sector, the High Sky rose to power more quickly. Even though they had less numbers than you, they were more technologically advanced, and through their superior ships technology, they've basically achieved hegemony over not only your planet, but their sphere of influence expanded over several different sectors. And well, it happens that what is especially grating for you, for some of your people, is the fact that some of your people bent the knee. Some of the people surrendered, and they basically decided that they will accept these new overlords without fighting them, and in turn they had reaped benefits. And now most of the usual normal population lives as docile ships in fear, and you suspect, or rather some of the people that are still have this spark of resistance inside them, they suspect that the High Sky, maybe not High Sky itself, but their collaborators, their kislings, are essentially dragging the water and food supplies, kinda like what Combine was doing in Half-Life 2, basically putting stuff inside your water and food to make you forget, to make you more weak,
Compliable.
yeah, docile. But obviously, everybody needs to drink and eat. But some people have strong minds. Some people still remember what it was to be like fierce, to be like a formidable warrior. And some people do not forget. Some people still hope and believe that the planet will be able to break free from its tyrannical overlords, and that and your character specifically, because as to set up the goal of this mini campaign, your character specifically want to be the cause of change, want to be the fire, or rather want to be the spark that will ignite the flames of rebellion. So apart from making character, as we will go along, I'll be asking several questions that will determine like where are we going, what sort of stuff is used, and definitely one of the questions that you can think about along the way or now is that what for your characters will be the event, the objective that will ignite the spark, because essentially this objective will be the end game for this mini campaign. Like it can be stuff like sabotage local arsenal or kill the planetary governor or stuff like that. And I think in terms of like plot, fluff, introduction, that's it. Was everything right, or do you have any more questions specifically about the like plot, fluff stuff?
Not really any that come to mind as of right now. So
Sounds good to
basically,
me.
you want to
Ignite a revolution. I mean, if anything, I'm an American. And the past week has shown we know our revolutions.
Yeah. Yeah, essentially, yeah, you are the guys that rather we as a group will decide like what you want to do, what will be this big event that will show to the population, that will show your people that yes, you can still fight, yes, we can win against these guys even though they have like better equipment than us. As I said, ignite the flames, ignite the revolution. Mind you, it doesn't, when I say ignite the revolution, it doesn't have to be immediately like go for a full-blown military, like armed revolt. But your action can involve obviously guns and explosions. But your event should just stir the hearts of your people and will cause them to like start rioting, to cause basically mass civil disobedience and disturbance.
So it's basically Star Wars Rebels.
That's one of the inspirations, I guess. Another, as I said, like in terms of architecture, Frostpunk, but in terms of feel,
Yeah.
like Arma Resistance, Homefront, Revolution.
So how easy is it to get to basically one settlement to another? Is it like do we have speeder bikes or basically any flying speeders?
I mean, for you as a characters, unless you buy it, then you don't assume you have it. In terms of transportation, because it is a planet, but that still only has hundreds of millions of inhabitants. I imagine because of the environment, you have like several like big think like hive cities from Warhammer. Like you have several big settlements, several big like megalopolis, massive sprawling jungles, or urban jungles, because obviously that means it is easier to keep the heat inside. And like you basically do not have like small settlements in the wilds, because they would not be able to survive. But some of the cities might be smaller, but generally speaking, you won't be able to find a settlement or a city that has less than 500,000 people. It's very like tightly packed in terms of like number of cities and settlements. Obviously, they are not next to one another, so there is like a transportation, but most of the people use the public transit. You have mostly underground railway stations or railway system. I imagine that air transportation would also exist, but in terms of transportation, because well, you are ruled by tyrannical overlords, so obviously people are also controlled in a way where they can go. So basically, it's unless you have a good reason for it or have a permission from the your overlords, or you forged one, you generally do not move from one city to another.
Gotcha.
And yeah, and also, as I said, I think on chat that assume that for now, because one of the questions that I will ask later, like what do you start with, because your characters might be already doing, before we start this session, they might have already done some preparations. But unless you will decide like you have already some supplies, assume that basically access to firearms is restricted, or rather is definitely illegal for the general populace. And also to give like an information, basically the overlords, the high sky itself, that has relatively little presence on the planet. To your information as a players, they have like an orbital, they have some little orbital presence in forms of high response team or teams. I'm not yet sure what would be their number, which is like their technology is TL5. Their Kislings and well, collaborators, basically those who rule the planet in their name, they have access to TL4 stuff, and they obviously they have no problem getting issued weapons and armor. They can parade in combat armor and in full like military gear, armed on the streets, assuming they'll want to. And yeah, for the most of the population, in terms of equipment, like yeah, the high tech level equipment is being like heavily restricted. The the tech level 3, which is like rough equivalent of our technology, like 21st century, it's not as restricted, but as I said, in terms of firearms and combat armor, yeah. If one of you guys decided to like go out in the street in combat armor and like a gun, you would immediately get into trouble, assuming of course you were spotted by someone.
So I'm guessing the first session is basically just character creation and basically session 0 stuff.
We'll see if we manage to get something in, because as I said, your characters do not exist in a vacuum, so I'll be like throwing questions at you that regard your character and what's their place in the world, what sort of preparation they have already done in terms of like preparing for the revolution. But as for the plot fluff aspect, are there any other questions? For now, I guess.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay, so I don't know. Just before I start explaining, have you looked through the handouts? Not the focuses, but like generally the handouts explaining mechanics. So like the action economy, the new move actions, main actions, or not really?
Some of them.
Okay, so to give like a basic idea, is that I've wanted to try and create. This is essentially like a beta testing of a homebrew system. Basically, try to make it so that when in combat, you don't have to. Because when I was playing normal campaign, it's kind of sucked that it was pretty static because you can only move your character 10 meters per round, and when you fighting in ranges, then obviously range they have like 100 meters or so. So it felt pretty static. That okay, I move here. Okay, I shoot a guy. Mind you, normally this vanilla system, on one hand, it is explained that the combat is deadly and you should avoid it, but on the other hand, most of the vanilla focuses are also combat based. So the book gives quite mixed feelings. So my goal was to create like a system of moves and basically alter the system. So now when you like fight in combat, you don't have to be limited. You don't have to think about that the turn is only 6 seconds, because it is not. We never specify how long the turn is. It's just natural flow of the action. And there's also no limit, like there's no 10 meters limit as to how far you can go. Instead, I've tried to make a system of moves, and they are described in the move actions handout. Although, just a preface, I've made 2 variants, and I've left the first one. Although after like working on the second variant, I feel like the second variant is somewhat better, because my goal was to basically focus on giving additional options. So your character, you as a player, instead of saying, okay, I go 10 meters here, you can like pick several interesting options, or rather, well, interesting, several options that can give you more mechanical benefits that can adjust your situation in combat. Because we assume that most of the enemies and yourself, you are intelligent beings that know how to move around the battlefield and try to keep well, the most effective distance. So we are not putting focus on well, just moving your character around. We are putting focus on picking tactically sound decisions and picking what sort of bonuses you want to take. I mean, obviously you can look through the move actions handout, the first one, but honestly, if I were to pick, like, as I said, I probably like how the second variant sounds and how it like presents itself, but it's ultimately your choice. And obviously, apart from the move actions, there are also main actions, which again, I've tried to work them in a way that they can offer you more options and they can expand your toolbox. And taking some inspiration from not Fate, but from the Powered by the Apocalypse systems, I tried to go for a solution that Because this is a d20 system in terms of combat, it's d20 for combat and 2d6 for skill checks. D20 is a fickle dice, especially in the early levels. So there's a probability that you might be missing quite a lot of attacks at the start, especially if the d20 will be shit. So one of the main things I did for main actions is that I've added options for ranged and melee attacks. If, in case you miss them, you have an option. You have a different options than just okay. So I miss. Cool. You can decide that you exchange hits. So you hit the enemy hits you because you just exchange blows, which is risky but still doable. And yeah, they are basically other options described. If, and this is especially to Zach, if you will, I imagine that maybe not every move, as right now I'm seeing that I've forgotten to add total defense or hunker down to the list of main actions. But if there is a main action that, or just a type of action that exists in the vanilla book, but you don't see it in the list, assume it more or less works as in the vanilla version. Although I might be doing some slight adjustments between the sessions because, well, as I said, I don't expect this to be perfectly balanced and has everything, but I spent some time on it. So I imagine my first question, just to be sure that you don't mind trying out these homebrewed mechanics, or?
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay, then essentially to just as you can have a moment to like skim or read through it, but also another question would be for you to consider like which move action variant do you want to use. Personally, I think the second one came out better in terms of what I wanted to achieve with it, but it's your call.
The second one seems a lot simpler,
Yeah.
and simpler is always better.
Yeah, it was like
don't get me wrong, I love Pathfinder, but when you're dealing with actual mechanics, simpler is better.
Yeah, I also mostly went through the second variant. When I finished the first one, I was like, okay, fuck, how do I track all of this? Because when you have one character, like one heroic PC and many enemies, okay, you can just make engagement rings, like abstract, show visual assistance, and you can track it that way. But what if you have more party members and you have more enemies? So I decided, okay, I need a simpler version of that. Okay, so you're gonna go with a second variant of move actions. Okay. Another mechanical thing that we should decide before just deciding about the power level of your characters is that let me see. Dice morale modding. A quick question. Obviously, you can change your mind later, but actually, no. When I think about it, the modding would not be exactly a possibility because modding requires a lot of money, a lot of resources, and you would be pretty. I expect that you would be pretty tight, not tight-lipped.
Tight with money.
Tight with money and just generally resources. so modding probably will not work. Morale is also slightly changed because in the vanilla game, when you forced a morale check, or rather, it is changed in several ways. One, in vanilla game, you forced a morale check when you killed a first person. For example, if a group of thugs attack you, you can force morale check if you kill the first one, and if they pass, then if you kill half of them, they make another morale check. That I've expanded a little bit on it because it doesn't make sense in fiction if, for example, a Space Marine kill team drops on your heads and you kill one of them. That would not force a morale check on a group of experienced kill machines if you just killed only one of them. So depending on who are you fighting, what makes sense in fiction, morale checks will be forced at a different times. And additionally now, if you...
The Addicted to Stardies never runs.
Yeah, that's also the case. That, for example, in some cases, if a band of bandits attack you and they fail morale check, they might just, okay, fuck this shit, we are out, and they just like run the fuck away and leave you alone. But in case of other enemies, like the Space Marines, it might be like, okay, we need a moment to regroup, rethink our plan of attack, maybe get some reinforcements, and then we'll be back to like kick your shit or something like that.
All right. I am at an issue that I need to ask you. For a stellar hero, do we still calculate HP the same way?
Okay.
Which is currently D6 plus Constitution mod.
Okay, I wanted to get to that in a moment, but okay, we can jump to that.
That's where I'm at in character creation.
Yeah,
so.
because there are also different ways we can do hit points and just we can do character creation, because there's a lot of questions that you also need to decide like which way we want to go, how powerful your characters you want to have. So if you can just hold on
I should not answer that question. I looked at the options.
Hold on onto that for just a little bit more. We're just gonna go for like purely mechanical stuff. So morale ties are pretty self-explanatory how they are explained, although the vanilla book does pretty shitty job at explaining. It's hard to read where it says that basically you resolve the tie in favor of the PC if it's between PC and NPC. And what's next? Time arranger. Yeah, movement, I explained that. Critical hits. In vanilla book, there is no something. Critical hits do not exist by default. And it's a question to you, like, do we want to keep it that way, or do we actually want to have critical hits? As explained in this handout. And there are two options if you want to have them. One is that there is an option to have critical hits, but if your character wants to get them, like mechanically, they will have to take specific focus. That's on the list of new focuses. Or there is another variant that if you roll natural 20, which is a basic like range for critical hit, you just get a critical hit. And you don't need a focus for that. So it just like depends if you will have to pay focus tax to get the critical hit.
I'd say either have them or don't have it as a focus.
Yeah. I'd say we have the one without needing to have a focus for it.
Okay, so the common variant.
I am for the common variant. Also, I can't seem to find the Stellar Stars supplement on Tro.
I mean, wait. Do you question? Do you have revised edition, but the free edition or deluxe?
Revised edition.
Yeah. But the basic version, which is free, doesn't have the segment for the heroic characters, because revised edition.
I picked up the deluxe edition.
Okay, so
PDF.
you don't need Stellar Heroes add-on. The heroic characters are described in the deluxe edition. It's page 274. It's just called heroic characters, not just Stellar Heroes.
Alright.
Basically, the author incorporated Stellar Heroes add-on for the revised edition.
What did you say? 275?
274. Although if it's PDF, it's probably 278. I'm never sure which page to tell.
Oh, here it is. Hero characters. Yeah.
274 on the PDF.
Maybe I'm gonna just grab a sip of tea. Okay, so common variant it is. So basically, to not forget which. Oh yeah, this one. So essentially, the question is, also because we'll get to that, but assume it will be your choice, but the number of focuses you will be able to take, or rather, we'll decide. It will be your decision which character you start. Although I will put a limit how on how high you can be. But assume that depending on your choices, you will not be as what's the word I'm looking for? Desperate for focuses as you would be in the vanilla game, because in vanilla game you either get, even as a heroic character, you get a focus each even number level. Okay, so and also for the crits, basically one of the focuses, it's called better criticals, so it means that you get bonus damage when you score a crit. But essentially it is a question, because you are going for the common variant that you don't need a focus to score a critical hit. So
stuff like adding to critical hits, I feel is fine as a focus, but that just seems like an important part of a tabletop game that if you're going to include it, let everyone get it. Because it's all right. I rolled a 20. What's that mean? Well, he gets a crit because he took the feat. But you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, even though I asked, I mean, obviously not every enemy gets a critical hit, because, well, it would not make sense for the simple mooks to have a focus like that. But I understand your reasoning. I mean,
sometimes the simple mook is the one getting the headshot.
Yeah, but they would not be. It wouldn't make sense for them to benefit from the critical hit, because they are mook. Crits should be, I mean, at least in my mind, they should be reserved for the powerful characters, the bosses, the nemesis. But yeah, essentially the question is
it's just a different design style. It's just think about how many people in Game of Thrones died to a mook, for instance.
Yeah, but Game of Thrones is a not really.
Remember Khal Drogo?
It's not really heroic setting.
I know what you mean, but I was saying, so having that codified into a rule system doesn't help with.
Okay, and the question is what at the very basics the rolling 20 rolling critical hit means, because we can go with the most basic option, that, well, it just doubles your hit points, and either the amount of dice or the result itself, and it's your call. Or just basically, if you decide that basically you get extra damage, We can decide that you get, basically your characters get better criticals focus for free, because this is like an incorporated in the fact that we have common variant. It's basically your call. I can go with whatever. And also, as for damage, I will explain to Simon later, but to Zach, I think this campaign, even if we are playing heroic characters, I will go with the heroic rules for counting damage. So it's like slightly different how it's counted, but it will be like showed how this works during the game. I'm gonna be listening to you. If you have any questions, I'm gonna mute myself for a moment. I need to take some medicine.
Yeah. Let's see what's next on the character creation.
Okay, so thinking about it, essentially, as for critical hits for heroic characters, I see, at least from my perspective, two choices. Either getting at the common variant, either getting crit means that the number of dice gets doubled. So basically, you roll the dice, your weapon dice again, or by default you get better critical focus, which means you get additional damage when you score a crit. And why I'm putting emphasis on the number of dice, because the way the damage here, Simon, is converted or calculated is that, let's say, if you roll, for example, I rolled a 5. Normally, normally
That's my
5
HP.
in basic game, it's like you deal damage for 5, but for heroic campaign because I rolled a 5, that actually converts to 1 point of damage. It doesn't seem like much, but as a heroic character, when you're fighting someone, usually you deal damage not to their hit points, but to their hit die. So that 5 is actually enough to basically kill every character that has only like 1 hit dice. So it's like level 1. That's enough to like kill them. Basically, it's like calculated differently.
Alright.
So essentially, the question is like how powerful you want to be, because as I said, I think we have like 2 choices. We can go for the crit automatically means that the number of dice gets doubled, or we can go with the variant that your characters have better criticals, so when they roll a critical hit, they get one additional 1d6 damage. Obviously, the second one is less powerful than the first one, so it's your choice how powerful you want this to be.
I'd say we go with the first one, just double the
number of dice.
Yeah.
Alright. Crit. Obviously, if you want to take the focus that gives you additional damage when you crit, so another die, that's fine too. Okay, that's for the critical hits. What else?
So
Okay.
I'm checking the backgrounds, and it says all these things like free skill, quick skills, growth, and learning. So I'm guessing growth is something we get every other level or something.
And no.
No, background is so you can either choose 2 of the skills from the D8 skill table, as long as it's not any skill, or you can roll 3 times on either.
Yeah, but I was going to go for the character creation. Essentially, like to throw several questions, because there is several ways we can go at things. Obviously, one we've already decided that you can either go for array when in terms of attributes, or you can roll. Whatever is option is fine. And I will be jumping. I know I won't be going through the list itself. Like background, assume it goes like normally. Skills. And basic not 4, 5. Basically, in terms of skills, and that's mostly will be for level upping. By vanilla, the expert class gets 4 skill points per level, and warriors and psychics get 3. Because you are heroic characters and there's only 2 of you, by default I've wanted to make it so you get double. So experts would get 8 skill points per level, and warriors and psychics would get 6.
Does that include first level?
What first level?
Do we get those extra skill points at first level?
I mean, I think on first level you I think the first.
If we don't.
I mean, I think the first level is mostly like what you get from your background and whatnot. But we'll get, because it will be also your choice if you want to start at level 1 or maybe start at level 2. So that also will be your decision.
I will leave that up to Simon, because I will always pick level 2. Just like I will leave the one up for the number of focuses, because I will always pick the most.
I would prefer starting at level 1, if that's not.
Then we start at level 1.
I mean, don't worry, we'll get to like it. You can still be pretty powerful. because we'll get.
Oh no, I'm terrifying.
We'll get to like the level of the tiers and action economy. Okay, so this will be level 1. What I wanted to say. Fuck's sake. Okay, I went with skills. In terms of hit points, I'm pretty sure, like, even in the vanilla game, you get maximum hit points for level 1. But this is basically, you have several choices. We can either go that your characters get maximum hit points at every level, or we can go that your characters, because in vanilla the heroic characters basically get average HP every time. So in case of, like, for example, if Zach rolls d6 plus 2, so basically his maximum is 8, so his average would be 4. That's also an option. And or the option is to just roll every level. Although rolling every level is pretty how should I say, dangerous? Because to give you an
Risky.
example, risky. To give you an example, let's say I just roll like straight d6s, and I rolled for my second level. I rolled this. So I just to give an example, if on the third level I rolled this, so I have 17 hit points at third level. But if at fourth level I rolled 16, my HP stays 17. Because that's how it worked in the system, that when you rolled HP, only if you rolled higher on your level up, your HP actually would go up. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this properly.
You had to roll higher than your HP. I think you still got +1 if you rolled under. Like, I still think it went up just by 1.
Probably. Alright. So how do you want to handle the hit points? Do you want to go for the maximum every level?
I say we go for the maximum, yeah.
Alright. Alright. So also you can remember that. Actually, I should make a new handout so I can copy all of this stuff I'm writing. Decisions. Okay, so we go for crits common variant. Oh, I forgot to loop this. Crits common variant, crit doubles the number of dice. HP maximum each level. So just to make sure, when you like go for HP maximum, so in case of Zach, that means that first level he's 8 hit points, level 2 means that he's 16. Essentially each level he adds 8 hit points, unless he will take something that gives him additional hit points, so then it's recalculated. Okay, that's hit points. Okay, and there's also one important thing. Action economy and tiers, because by default in a combat turn you get 1 move action, 1 main action, and like there are also on turn and instant actions, but they They are not limited in number. It basically depends on what makes sense in fiction, what some of the focuses are saying, because there's a focus that means that you can do this action as an on-turn action, but that means that you cannot do any other on-turn actions in the same turn. And yeah, normally in the vanilla game you can only like once in a turn, because this is a heroic campaign and there's only 2 of you standing against the world. And there's an option to play on higher tier. So basically, if you are tier 2, it means that you can get you basically get 2 main actions and 2 move actions per turn. Obviously, we would also have to decide if you, for example, will want to roll for initiative for each of these, because normally you would like make 2 initiative rolls to decide like when exactly you act twice in a turn. But there's also like a way to, actually let me double check, because I might be misremembering something about heroic characters, because I thought it said that they automatically start first, but that might not be the case. Okay, let's see. Heroic characters. Okay, it doesn't say anything that heroic characters automatically start first, unless I'm not seeing it. So if you'll be fine with that, then basically your characters will be, when in combat, your characters will be rolling full initiative. And that means, for example, if you are tier 2, then you basically roll initiative twice and you act twice in the turn. Obviously it doesn't have to be in the, like, if you roll different, like if you roll the same, like 6 and 6, then obviously you act right after one another. And yeah, if you decide to go for the tier system, I think like tier 2 would be the most optimal. Not too weak, not too powerful, in my opinion. But still giving you an extra edge.
I am pretty sure that I am done.
We'll see, because it might turn out that we will be getting you'll be getting extra focuses to use, but we'll see.
If I get extra focuses, that'll be great, but
I mean, we'll see. It will be your decision, but I just want to, because partially the question about focuses might connect to the question like what tiers, like actually do you want to use the concept of tiers, or do you just want to be like, we act once in a turn and that's it?
I'm up for either. Also, Simon, I built a combat monster, so you can go your skill monkey ways. It'll be useful.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
I took pilot though, so you don't have to worry about that.
I picked technician.
Okay.
So I'm gonna roll for 2 skills we're learning, so 2d8. 6 and no.
damn it.
Are you looking at my
So I
character
get.
sheet?
Yeah. I
Oh
was
my,
like,
wow, Shinderu.
I was like, what the fuck? What's the telekinetic rifle? And I see, yeah, see telekinetic armory. Of course, Dambas.
So, so if I already have a 0 on fix and roll another fix on the learning table,
Goes up to +1.
yeah, +1.
However, +1's the max that a level 1 character can have. I
Gotcha.
think it's level 3 that we can go up to 2.
Let me double check, but I think you are right.
Do I need to move all the ask on the skill sheet? Do I need to move all the?
That is for what stat it's using,
All right.
which can change.
So I'm guessing fixes wisdom and.
Well, it could be dex. It could be
Depends.
intelligence.
Okay.
Yeah, it's never that one skill is always for one attribute. It depends on the situation. Like if you
I
have
doubt
to,
it could be charisma.
probably not. Like for example, if you try to disable a bomb quickly and without blowing yourself up, then it's based on dex. If you create a bomb and use your ingenuity and like instinct as a bomb maker, then it's probably wisdom. If you like
If you're trying to fix like a door and you need to move something heavy, it's probably a strength.
true, that will work. It basically depends how you do it, how do you describe it, what makes sense in fiction.
Like, I'm going to be trying to pilot with my constitution as much as possible.
So,
Hmm.
so if I wouldn't pick any of the, if I didn't roll for the skills, I would have just picked from the quick skills.
No, quick skills is just you don't want to pick, so pick these.
All right.
Otherwise, you would have picked from the D8 list. But you picked 2 instead of roll for 3. I went for 3 growth because I wanted stats. And I got 2 stats, just 2 +1s. Would make me kind of sad.
Oh, whoops! I thought I also got the quick fix. So fix is still 0
you
in
get,
that case.
You get 1 skill. That's the free skill.
Yeah, the fix. Wait, what was it? Technician got.
Technician got fixed 0.
All right, so it is still.
And then you rolled fix, and what else did you get?
No.
Knowledge. That's useful, so we can actually not be stupid.
So. Wait, I should roll for 3 then. So 4. Apparently, I got another fix.
If your fix is already on plus on level 1, then I think you should reroll
Yeah.
or something, because it's absolutely sure that.
Oh, another fix.
Because I'm pretty sure.
I'd just say reroll. I don't think it let you lose out.
Alright,
because
dude.
you
Yeah,
got
you
unlucky.
don't lose out, but.
Alright, pilots.
Well, it could still be useful.
I can fly. Let's see. Next up was.
Maybe since we both have pilot, we're a couple smugglers.
To be fair, when I said that, yeah, the access to equipment and firearms is restricted, I should have really expected Zach to go for the. Hey, I don't need equipment!
To be fair, I was planning on doing this before you said that.
Okay. I mean, no, it's absolutely legit. I just had to double check.
I was planning on being a power gaming bastard before we got to that. Before you said that.
That's our sec. Let's see. Next up is the class.
If you're wondering, the next focus I'm picking is the one for that you made for psychics that lowers the 2-hit of people attacking you. Because it's just extra AC. So you made one. So you made a focus called, I think it's Determined Telekinetic.
I think you already took it.
Disciplined Telekinetic. I took that. But you also have Disciplined Teleporter, which is the enemy suffers a -1 penalty to hit you per your level in teleportation.
Yeah, because Flavia is described that you have this like slip field that you can like.
Yes. Yes, I understand.
Shimmer.
But you know that's just more AC, right?
Yeah, that's legit. I mean, yeah, I expected that you can make pretty broken builds with that, but it also really depends, because I made like 100 new focuses, but it really depends how much focuses a character can get, because like the vanilla character only gets about, not counting the level 1, they only get level 2, I think, 5, 7 and 10. So they only get 4 focuses through their entire career. Heroic PCs get somewhat more because they get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So they get 5 through their